Let me go through this real quick. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're about to begin shortly. Before we begin, there's just a few housekeeping items. One, if you have phones, please put your phones on silent or vibrate. Two, if you need restrooms, restrooms are located to the rear and out to the left as you walk out of the back of the auditorium. And in the event of an emergency, we may need to shelter in place. If we need to do so, please drop and cover and await instructions from staff for further actions. With that, that concludes my comments, and we will begin shortly. Thank you.
Hi, how you doing? I am great. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you to the January 10th, 2020 Governing Board meeting of the South Coast Air Quality Management District. I'd like to ask Dwight Robinson to read us for his final time in the Pledge of Allegiance this morning.
Great. Well, if you join me in
You've got
standing
2
and
months in a row.
thank you very much. Place your right hand over your heart and begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I don't have any speakers request on, well, I just said that, and the vice chair pops up.
Well, I just
Mr.
wanted
Dwight?
to let the board know I had a couple little trips this last month, but well, both were very important. But one was to go out to the core infrastructure project that's in downtown LA, and to actually see the progress they've been making there, and to see what it looks like. And I know it's on the agenda today. I think we have a photo from my little tour down there, and I can tell you it's real and it's moving, it's forward. It's not 100%. It's definitely the components are coming together. And we're hopeful that we'll see some production by the next little extension that we do here. So, but it is a very interesting project, and I can see the potential, and I'm all for seeing whatever we can do to help, production of hydrogen especially. So, but this is a facility that can take all sorts of different biomass and potentially produce all sorts of different gases. So we'll see how it does, and I'm just hopeful that this is the last extension we need. We can get them going. So I just wanted to let everybody know that. And then one other trip I did do, and I don't think we have any photos from, I also made it out to Catalina Island and toured their facility there. I'd say at Southern California Edison's facility, where they take a harbor, weekly have to take I'd say a small, but still relatively large, holds I think 7 or 8 diesel trucks of diesel gas across to the diesel generators to power the island. And so there's talk of how we can change that and what's needed to move forward. We do have a rule coming up that will affect them if we continue with the rule path we're on, where they had to replace the diesel engines, and there's really not enough room on their facility to replace their engines. It's a very compact, tight area. When you look at that island, you think there's so much room over there, but it's all owned by two large corporations that really don't want to give up, or one corporation and one conservancy that don't want to give up much of their space. So it's a very difficult problem, but we're looking at different solutions, and Edison has a report that my understanding is still in draft form, but hopefully we'll be coming back soon where we can see what they came up with different ideas to help get them towards a future where we're not taking a barge across the bay every week with 7 diesel trucks filled with diesel. So anyhow, so we'll see where both those go, but I just want to let everybody know I went out there and did that.
And, you know, I used to be a resident of Catalina for a number of years, and that's got to have been 30 years ago, and they were doing that then. So it's been going on for a long time. Board Member Delgado?
Yes, so one of the things that I've been thinking about a lot and working on is a Rule 415, which relates to rendering facilities in the east side. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with this issue, but when a lot of us are growing up in that area, especially in the summer, it smells like dead animals all the time. And there are 5 rendering facilities in the area. Staff has been great about trying to create a rule so that people can call in to complain and there could be some enforcement. But people in the east side don't call. It could be cultural, it could be, you know, where people immigrate from, they're just not used to government actually taking action. So what I'm, recently the mayor of Bell put on Facebook asking people to call, and I think that's when they find, staff was able to actually go and enforce. But I think that the board here it's a different time, and I would actually request that the board support taking Rule 415 back to the Stationary Source Committee, so there could be another mechanism where we could more proactively work on this issue. I think that it's important that we send a message to people in underprivileged communities that they should expect more, and they don't have to live like this. So I ask for your support to move that forward.
Do you have any comment on that?
Well, this board revised Rule 415, I want to say it was last year, or could have been the year before, and we haven't seen all of the control requirements that are included under the new rule fully adopted. And I think that, and I'll look to Dr. Fine to clarify the actual compliance dates. It was either shortly or it will be very soon. But I also want to point out that with regards to the communication aspects that the senator points out, as part of the 617 community effort, we're actually reaching out to a number of the community representatives. And I think that we actually have focused very diligently on trying to raise awareness. And when we've gone out to the communities, we've talked about the importance of, you know, 1 phone call, 2 phone calls, 6 phone calls, and all of these. So we're working on this issue through the 617 aspect. And as you may know, Senator, with the recent adoption by the Air Resources Board of additional cities within 617, we held our first kickoff meeting last night. That was located in Huntington Park, but includes a number of the areas. So the turnout for that event was fantastic. We continue to try to be more effective through social media. And I would say that we're working on these efforts with regards to a rule revision. The rule revision would focus generally on the control technology. The outreach aspect is something that I think that we can continue to work on, and I would ask perhaps that we work with you on looking at how we're currently doing it and if there are additional things that you think that we might be doing. I mean, we've worked with, you know, Father John with a number of stakeholders, East Yards, and the main effort has always been to increase the coordination and communication between the community and us.
I would like to say that staff has done tremendous work to try to work on this issue. It's a hard one. It's a really hard one, and that's why I thought since there's only 5 rendering facilities, maybe there was something more direct that can be done than the way it's currently structured. But I'm happy to take it personally with staff, and then we can decide what to do. And we'll make a recommendation to the board.
Okay. Councilmember Mitchell?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to give a little bit of an update on what's happening with AB 617. We mentioned that 2 new communities have been added in our South Coast District, Coachella Valley, and the new expansion into Southgate and Huntington Park in Southeast LA. So the other thing that's happening with AB 617 is the California Air Resources Board is moving ahead now to review all of the CERPs, the community emission reduction plans, and any monitoring plans that are coming forward. This will be in the next few months. Trips and meetings with the California Air Resources Board at certain locations. Next week, the board meeting will be in El Centro. We will tour the El Centro region and have a board meeting there. The following week, the board will be meeting in Sacramento. And there will, in the future, be meetings here in Los Angeles to look at the 3 AB 617 communities that we have right here in Los Angeles. So, and then there will be meetings in Bakersfield and Shafter. Those are the communities in the Central Valley. So it will be a busy time. And it will be very informative, as this is the first year that we've done community emission reduction plans. And so it should be very, very interesting. I invite all of you to take notice of what's happening with AB 617 and follow the progress. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Caccio.
Mr. Chair, thank you. And I want to thank Robert and Paul for getting these pictures. I always get them to you late, so thanks a lot, and staff for putting these together. Yesterday, a couple days ago, I was over in the City of Industry making our presentation just about some of our incentive programs. Here's a photo of the City of Industry Council. And we're also making a presentation. There's 2 sheriffs here, and I know Supervisor Barger does a lot with homelessness, and they were, I guess, donating some of their land to the sheriff's mental health team for new trailers on site. So this was just council and stuff. And next, I also talked about our commercial electric lawn equipment program, and we're doing a demonstration. That's Dan made with the American Green Zone Alliance with an electric backpack blower. And if you see my hair, it's on low, but he's basically blowing, and even my jacket, you can tell the jacket's flying away. So we usually just blow on the council members, but we didn't want to, but it was really good. So we do a great demonstration. People love the demonstration. We'll bring that here pretty soon, Mr. Chair, do another demonstration here with our electric lawn equipment.
Yeah, I'd love to use that on some board members at some time.
The one next to you? No, just kidding. And next, so last night also we had this was a presentation by Wayne. Wayne did a great job. This was the LA League of California Cities, and then we're meeting by you across from USC, and Wayne put on a presentation. That's the board right there. And next, Mr. Chair, Wayne gave a great presentation. Let me tell you, it got rough. And I know you know boxing analogies and Ali and all those years. So Wayne made a great presentation, but they kept hitting him. He talked about the voter authorization bill, 732. They said we want lower pollution, but we're not going to support this. We shouldn't be paying for it. So it got really rough. So after the event, Derek and I took Wayne aside. We sat him down. It was bloody, but I want to show what happened out. This is Wayne after. So we took care of him. He's okay today. We took care of him. I know you would appreciate that with your background. So he made it. I want to thank you, Wayne, and thank you, Robert and Paul, for helping me out there.
Makeup does wonders.
Mr. Nastri, do you have a response to that?
It was a very good discussion last night, and I think that more of the cities are aware of the potential ramifications and the costs. It's not just the things that we're talking about in terms of sanctions from highway dollars, but all the other things that go with that. And we will have a discussion later today in closed session about what some of that looks like and what some of the potential actions are that we might want to consider moving forward.
I see that you had requested to speak. Is that it?
No, sir. Just 2 other items. First, I wanted to highlight that we're having our South Coast AQMD technology demonstration after our closed session. It's an opportunity to sort of kick the tires, if you will, and to see firsthand what are the projects in which we are investing in, what is near zero, what are some of the zero emission technologies, and how is it that we believe that the deployment of these technologies will actually help us achieve our clean air goals. It's an opportunity to see all the things that you vote on, perhaps not all the things, but many of the things that you vote on in terms of what it actually means and how important it is to the OEMs, the manufacturers, and these tech companies in terms of having the ability to go out and actually prove that the technology works and then to actually demonstrate and deploy those technologies. So we urge you, to the extent that you can, to please come visit the Technology Demonstration Forum. The second item I'm going to ask Jill Wynot to speak to, but one is we wanted to introduce Faye Thomas as our new clerk of the board. So, Jill?
Thank you. Just very briefly, if you haven't had the opportunity to work with Faye before, I'm sure you'll find that she's really up to this challenge. She's just an exemplary employee. She's been here 28 years, and we're really excited for her for this opportunity and look forward for her doing a really great job in this new role.
And that concludes my comments, Dr. Burke.
All right, thank you very much. We have the swearing in of the chair and the vice chair. Who is going to do that?
Do we swear at each other?
Why don't I swear you in, you swear me in?
Sounds good.
That's perfect.
Do we technically do it at the same time?
Well, why don't we do it at the same time? Come on, Judy, you can swear us both in at the same time. Save people some time.
Oh, this is without rehearsal.
Yeah, this is without a rehearsal.
Over the microphones here?
This on? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so we will swear in our new chair and vice chair for the year. And I will ask you to raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, and then state your name.
I, Benjamin Joseph Benoit,
During such times as I hold the above office,
during such times that I hold the above office,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I would swear in Larry, but he's in another meeting. But I will get him next month for sure. I have now some talking points for Dwight Robertson. I hate these talking points. Come on up to the microphone, Dwight. You want me to read these?
Sounds good. Whatever works.
No. Here's what I'd like to say. Back in the day when Ali was fighting, there was always a new guy every fight because there had to be new training partners and sparring partners and things like that. And those guys were always looked on with the greatest suspect because they were the new guy. And nobody trusted them, and nobody ever thought that they would make it through to the end because they were the new guy. When you came, you were the new guy to me. So I watched you for a while, listened to you for a while. You started confusing me because you sounded like an old guy. So what happened at the camp was after a guy made it to a couple fights and we realized he was going to be around forever. We call him a keeper. You were definitely a keeper right quick. I've told you on more than one occasion that I have the greatest respect not only for your intellect, but your integrity.
Thank you.
And I think that that's the most important thing that man can have.
Absolutely.
So, you know, at camp, that was everything. You know, and I wish you would have been at our camp. You'd have had a great time, and the guys would have had a great time with you, because you're one of the fellows who will tell the truth and stand up for what you believe in. So now I'm going to read the AQMD, some of these points here. But I can't tell you how much, as an individual, you have meant to me personally. You've just been an outstanding board member.
That feeling's mutual, definitely.
You know, you serve on the Transportation Committee for the Southern California Associations of Government, and you went on several trips with us to DC, and you've been tirelessly working on the impact to improve the lives of the residents of the Southern California Basin. But the really important thing is that you have, in your tenure, the district has adopted more than 50 rules, resulting in the reduction of more than 20 tons of NOx and 20 tons of CO per day. So, you know, it's obvious to everyone who looks at the record that you've been here in a most productive period. So I thank you for all your effort. I look forward to continuing to count you as a friend. And I'd like to give you this token of our appreciation, which is much better than a bird.
Well, thank you very much. Really
And,
appreciate that.
We're definitely, all of us, not me, I think everybody on this roster will miss you.
Wow. Thank you. Well, thank you very much. If I might just make a few comments here real quickly. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge my board consultant, Matt Holder. Without our consultants, I mean, there's just so much that we have to go through, you know, each and every month. Just volumes of research and reports from the staff and meetings, and so without him, I wouldn't have been nearly as effective as I was. Secondly, I'd just like to thank all the AQMD staff. And as Chairman Burke mentioned, when I came in, I think there was some trepidation. It was an interesting time with the board. I think there were some concerns that somebody like me might come in and kick in a door and and want to, you know, just, you know, overturn the apple cart, do something like that. But you know, it's very quickly, I think people understood that, you know, I'm one that wants to collaborate, wants to make sure that we accomplish the goals that we have. I think that we all want to accomplish the goals exactly the way we believe they should. We just have in a different perspective occasionally, but we want to achieve the same thing, which is improving the air quality here in the district. But it wasn't too long after I joined the board that we had a pretty substantial change around here. And Mr. Nasri came in, and since then I think that we've almost had the same tenure here. And you know, I immediately saw when that change occurred a demeanor change within the staff. And I saw more openness, more willing to collaborate, and you all have just been so incredibly great to work with. I spent most of my time focused on the technology advancement issues with Judy and Larry at times, some of the rest of you, and we'll see that demonstration this afternoon. But we've been able to achieve some incredible things with mobile source emissions, and the future is very, very bright. There's going to be some incredible technology that's going to help us be able to reduce the NOx numbers significantly over the next decade. And as we talk about a lot, those mobile source emissions now are 88% of the emissions that we have here in the district. And so that needs to be where the focus is, and it's a challenge because you have to get really creative if you want to try to do it in a rule-making fashion. So how we can incentivize industry to convert so that we can improve the air quality here for all the residents, especially those in those disadvantaged communities along the transportation corridors, is paramount. And so I've just been really honored to be a part of that process. But finally, I just want to let all of you board members know how much I appreciate each and every one of you and the amount of time and the sacrifice that you put into this role. Many of you sit on a lot of different boards, but you take this one incredibly seriously. And occasionally we'll have people come to the public comment mic and attack us for not doing enough. And you mentioned the reductions that have occurred in my just short 4 years here. I would be flabbergasted by the improvements that have occurred during your tenure, and Judy's, who's been here a while, and Michael's, and everyone else. So we're doing impressive work every single day, and I think that we need to recognize that, not to toot our own horns, but to appreciate how far we've come. Not to say that we don't have a lot further to go, but we need to recognize that this is an agency that's not just sitting up here voting on contractual things and ideas that might help us long into the future. We're making impacts every single day here, and we need to recognize that and just make sure that we appreciate those that are involved in it, whether they're outside this agency or within it. So I want to thank each and every one of you. I really appreciate serving on this board. If I hadn't been elected to this board, I probably wouldn't have run for re-election to city council in 2016, but this was just so fulfilling for me. Really? I gained so much contentment from being a part of this board, and I knew that I was making an impact at a regional level that will be seen for years and years to come. So again, thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure serving with each one of you.
And now you know why he was a keeper.
Dr. Burke? Dr. Burke?
Oh,
You
yes,
forgot about
I
me.
forgot you, but I didn't forget you. I'd like to recognize Supervisor Janice Rutherford for another presentation to our.
He said he was going to call on me first, but I know he just didn't want me to step on his Muhammad Ali story. I don't have a Muhammad Ali story. But I do have a great deal of appreciation for my colleague, Councilman Robinson. So I brought a token of appreciation from the County of San Bernardino. Dr. Burke mentioned your integrity, and while that is certainly foremost and you have it in spades, it is not your only quality, and it's not the only quality that's brought value to this board and to its mission. You are smart, thoughtful, articulate, dedicated. You do an incredible amount of homework, and you engage with people in a very friendly, civil manner that is an example for everyone who participates in this forum. You helped us all understand the actual implications of our policies on the ground by saying, look, I work every day. I have employees and customers in this field, and here's what this means and how it will play out. Sometimes policymakers and staff don't have that level of detail or an understanding of how the things are going to play out 5 steps from now, and you brought that to us. And on a personal level, you've been a tremendous support and help and friend to me, but also, so you know, sometimes people come here and paint business people as the bad guys. Sometimes people stand there and criticize their attitude. I want you to know that when our county had devastating wildfires, this businessman reached out and said, how can I help? And here's what my trucks can do, and here's the services I can bring, and how I can help your residents. It's a heart that motivates the public service, and it's an example to all of us and everyone who aspires to sit in a seat on a public dais. So thank you for that example. Thank you for all you've given. We are going to miss you tremendously. Maybe now you'll come and stand out there? Doesn't sound optimistic, but so on behalf of the San Bernardino County Board of Supervisors, thank you for your dedicated public service. We will miss you, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
I just want to add to that. Dwight brought to our board a perspective that none of us here have, I think, with a business that he operates in the port with a fleet of trucks. And with that experience, with all that we deal here on this board with the port activities and operations, he was really an information resource for all of us. And as Janice said, he showed us what it meant on the ground when we implemented a rule or a regulation and how it was actually going to affect him in his business, but also others in the port. And Dwight has been such a support for me and for us on the board in technology advancement. He served on the technology committee with me, and we've seen tremendous changes in zero emission mobile sources, and Dwight has been such a well source of help on that front, and also an advocate in the ports for moving in that direction. So I want to thank you, Dwight, for your service, for all that you've done on this board, and we surely will miss you terribly, but please stay in touch.
Supervisor Bartlett?
Thank you, Chair. I also want to thank Dwight for his service. When I came on the AQMD board, there was a huge learning curve to get up to speed, and Dwight was so patient and sat down and really walked me through a lot of the key things that were occurring at AQMD, and his knowledge with his time on the board, his knowledge and expertise and what he brought to the table here as a board member is really incredible, and I know it's going to be very much missed. But Dwight is not only a great elected official, City of Lake Forest, and a constituent in my district, but watching Dwight on the Lake Forest City Council and how he brought his knowledge and passion to that particular elected office has been so impressive over the years. I want to thank you for your service as a city council member, because it's not easy to serve at the local level. I mean, you're there facing your residents and your constituents every single day. You're right there on the front line, and it's not easy. And to be able to not only do that work and your work in the private sector, but also to take the time to serve on a board like AQMD that can sometimes be all-consuming depending on some of the issues and rules and things that we're working with. I want to thank you for taking the time and making that extra effort and providing such great service here. So thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. And just want to wish you very well in your future endeavors. I know you're going to go on to some great things, and hopefully we can keep you entertained and at the county level and get on one of our boards or commissions or something and to stay active, because we would hate to lose everything that you bring and the passion that you bring to what you do when you serve. So thank you.
Okay, we'll let Dwight finish his last day at work here. We'll move on to the consent calendar. Items 1 through 14.
I'd like to pull item 3.
Item 3, okay. Any other items that anyone would like to pull? Okay, I would accept the motions on items.
Public
Mr.
comment,
Chair.
Mr. Chair?
Yes,
There's a public comment on, I think, most of these items, and several on item number 2A.
2A? Okay.
And the rest of the, I think
Okay,
most
and
of
we do
the,
have
Mr. Etter
testimony
signed up for most of the
on,
other items as well.
From Mr. Etter on the consent calendar. It doesn't have a number, does it? Mr. Etter, would you come to the microphone?
And Mr. Chair, this would be his time for the consent calendar and the board calendar.
The
3 minutes total, sir.
consent and what calendar? Well, can you repeat what you said? I understand. I thought that was just the consent calendar.
And the board calendar, which is items 16 and 17.
Okay, now that's something new.
I'm sorry, babe, what was that?
I apologize, Mr. Chair. So for the consent calendar and the board calendar, the board generally allows 3 minutes total for all of those. So what I'm recommending is that he be given 3 minutes total for those.
For everything?
Yes, for items 1 through 17.
Yes.
Items 18 and 19, the public hearing and the closed session and general public comment are separate.
That's a separate thing. Yes, okay, I got that. Okay, Mr. Etter?
Okay, good morning. Happy New Year. I'm Harvey Etter. I'm speaking for myself. I'm kind of under the weather, and for the Public Solar Power Coalition. And basically, doing this under protest. I think the 1 through 14 was described as consent. That should be separate, and the other items separately. Basically, I haven't read over this stuff, but I talked with Dr. Burke somewhat this morning that we're 2020. Okay, there's a TV show called 2020. My old man used to always say, "I got 2020 vision." Okay, seeing things clearly, perspective. We're at an important point in history. We've got the politics changing. We got the climate changing. We're in the 6th great extinction in the history of the planet. I'm reading this book, and I met Naomi Klein. It's her 2nd book about the climate. On Fire, The Burning Case for a Green New Deal by Naomi Klein. Her first book that just came out a few months ago, and she signed a copy that I got. They got ripped off on the street. I gave her the thumb drive for the 16 plan for the Solar New Deal for this district and the state. Her first book was from 14, was This Changes Everything, Climate versus Capitalism. She's on a 3-year position at Rutgers in Women's Studies and Climate Change. She's on the board of The Nation, etc. It's very important stuff. Everybody should read it, all the board members and your consultants. Everything we're doing here, like in the 14 that I'm addressing and I'm contesting the other times, it has to be done in the context for us of this transition. Now, the numbers given, they say the rate of change is happening a lot quicker than we thought, both local, state, and international for the climate, and trying to get on the agenda the September issue of National Geographic's that the Arctic is melting, and this includes not just carbon dioxide and methane, but nitrous oxide, laughing glass, which has 300 times the global warming potential and is also an ozone depleter. This was not dealt with at all, the nitrous oxide, and this is a government's publication. We need to get this on the agenda for next week, next meeting. Also, I guess I'll have to continue in increments. There's important stuff you should know. and these are incorporated in reference, but, and the first book was put in and purged out of the 66-part New Deal, and 6, 7, and 8 were comments that were not in PDF, and this has to be done over again because that's open and that's not acceptable. Thank you.
Thank you. We also have comment on item 2A. I'd like to call Ms. Rita Loof and Jessica Cravens to the individual microphones.
Good morning, board members. Happy New Year, and thank you, Mr. Robinson, for your service. I'm Rita Loof, Director of Environmental Affairs for RadTech International, and RadTech is a trade association dedicated to the promotion of ultraviolet electron beam and LED technology. We have over 800 members nationwide, and I'd like to create an analogy that we are the electric vehicles of the coating industry. So we're involved in Rule 1107 metal coatings, and we're hopeful to work with the staff. We've had a very good reception from the staff. I shared the presentation with our members, and they were very encouraged. As some of you may recall, because our products are very low VOC, measuring the actual VOC content of those very low VOC products has been a challenge, and we're hoping that 1107 will clarify some of those issues. We have made tremendous progress with the test method because of the commitment of this board and your willingness to get into the nitty-gritty and into the weeds of this very technical issue, and we certainly appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your testimony.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Jessica.
Okay, hi. My name is Jessica Craven. I come representing myself and the NELA Climate Collective. Congratulations and thank you to the gentleman who is finishing up his term. It's great to hear you. We dragged our daughters here this morning, me and Emily. My daughter, Myra Jean, is 10. She's the one staring at my phone. And my friend's daughter, I believe, is 7. We're coming every month to this meeting because we want to remind you there's so many people who come from business and industry, and it's wonderful that they come and they speak up. We are desperately afraid, and we are frantic, frankly, about the fact that the Los Angeles basin has the worst air quality in the country. We're both driving electric cars. I took the flyaway bus to the airport this Christmas, even though it was hugely inconvenient, and my daughter sobbed all night on the way home because she was tired and it was late, and the bus took a long time to come because it's not adequately funded. We're desperately trying. I don't even use my dryer at home anymore. I'm doing everything I can, but I just want to remind you, those are the reasons that we're all here, them right. And the millions of others like them. And that if you are inclined to take shortcuts, if you are inclined to say, well, let's do a study that'll take a year and then we'll take that action, please don't. Please don't. I'm the PTA president at my daughter's LAUSD school, and I have people come up to me every week and say, we're leaving Los Angeles, we're moving. The air quality's been horrible for 3 months straight. This summer it was unhealthful for 3 months straight. I just want to remind you that means our kids don't get to play outside. It means that our Halloween parade is pulled inside. It means that they have lunch in the NPR, which is not fun. And I guess I just want to remind you guys one more time, I want to thank you for the work you're doing. And if I can add any urgency by saying that the parents I know are terrified and looking at leaving the state because of the air quality here, I just want you to know that that is actually happening. And I'm a privileged white woman who can actually come here and make this statement because I work from home, and I'm speaking for the millions who can't. The parents who are worried and too busy working 2 jobs or 3 jobs to come to Diamond Bar, which took us almost an hour this morning to make this statement. So that's it, and thank you for listening. I really appreciate the hard work you're doing.
In keeping with what you were just saying, you know, over the holidays, I watched my 5-year-old granddaughter, and she was like a perpetual motion machine. You know, I don't remember having that much energy when I was 5 years old. Of course, I can't remember when I was 5 years old. But you're right, during the summertime, in California, in this basin that we live in, children want to be outside. And they can't help themselves but be active. So our responsibility increases in the summertime. I think you're right on target about that. Okay, Councilman, you're still, would you like to speak on something?
Number 3.
Okay.
Thank you. I asked to have this item pulled. This has been a project that has gone through a lot of delays and continuances, et cetera, and I'm very glad that my colleague, Councilmember Benoit, visited the site. One of the concerns I have is that this site was supposed to be moved to Rialto, and then Rialto sold the piece of property that it was going to be placed on. Southern California Gas came in and rescued the project and allowed the project to continue on their site. But as I understand it from our staff report, Southern California Gas agreed to extend the term of the land use agreement to the end of 2020. And I'm wondering if staff could help clarify what happens at the end of 2020, because a lot of money has gone into the infrastructure to put this project in place. Would it continue there? What do we see as the future of the project after 2020?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Mitchell. So the intent, as we understand from SoCal Gas, is they're waiting to see how the project progresses. The technology actually shows its viability to produce either a syngas that could be put back into the pipeline or hydrogen based on the feedstock. And once they see that's viable, I think there's negotiations underway to either make that a permanent site or find an alternate site. So they're much like us, that we're trying to understand the true commercial potential for the technology before they make any further investment.
And I agree with my colleague, Councilmember Benoit, that the production of hydrogen is really critical. As we move into fuel cell vehicles, we really need to have that kind of fueling infrastructure, and this kind of project is really important for that purpose.
Especially since, as Vice Chair Benoit aptly described, it can come from different feedstocks, specifically renewable feedstocks. So right now, the largest production of hydrogen is through steam methane reformation, right? So it's a high temperature process that converts methane to hydrogen and water. This could actually have a renewable resource and potentially a feedstock that would be otherwise thrown away. So wood chips, biochar, all kinds of different things that would not typically be a fuel. So there's just a unique process with great promise, and that's why we're suggesting that the board indulge it's a small firm, and they are making incremental progress, and so we'd like to see that actually come to the point where we can make an assessment.
Great, thank you for that explanation. I think that my colleague, Mike Caccioli, wants to talk about this subject matter too.
He answered my questions. I was curious what the process was and what type of feedstock they would use. You said like wood chips. What else, Matt?
But it's
Shells.
It uses anything that creates energy. My understanding is that the Department of Resources at the state level has been in touch with them about processing all those dead trees in Northern California. There are literally millions of dead trees that we have to get rid of. And here's my, I've been kind of pushing this thing along and trying to stick with it. You have no idea how many bogus ideas the chairman of this board receives a month. Probably the worst one was about 8 years ago when two fellows came in and told me that they had a process by which could extend battery life over 100-fold. I said, oh, that's great. I said, he said, well, we'd like $5 million to do research. And I said, well, can we see what you've done so far? Oh, no, we can't. We're not going to let you see that. So I get it all the time. So I've been following this core project probably about 12 years now because they needed a permit for my wife when she sat on the Board of Supervisors to go down. So I've been following this a long time. But what is in my mind, which may not be in their mind, is that this produces all kind of gases. So if you could take something trash, because they use sludge, the reason they wanted a permit from Yvonne was they wanted to be at the county sludge of the, down near the airport. And they were actually turning sludge at that point into gas. So if you could take something like sludge or something that is ongoing, an endless supply, like trash, and you could hook it up with generators, you might cure this whole energy problem that we're looking forward to trying to bring down to zero emissions in the generation of power. I mean, this thing has all kind of ramifications to it. The question is, can they get it up and running? Now, I think that I've been told by the guy who runs it that this, if they don't make it in this 6 months, but they have $60 million in this project.
It's not ours money,
No, we only got like 2 or 3, but they got 60 million. So somebody believed in it a lot, and it's all private money. There's no, equity funds or things like that. This is people's personal money. So I certainly hope it works. I think it could be probably one of the keystones of this board's legacy to the, not to Southern California, but maybe to the world. Because I think about, the development of the fuel cell and how we just put $500,000 into that and got it over the finish line and where it's going from there. If we could do the same thing again, be amazing. Be amazing. But it's got to work. Yeah. So,
and the good news is now I know where it's at. I'll visit pretty regularly to sort of peek over the fence and see what's going on. And I know staff's been out there a lot too, and it's worth seeing it. It's in a little bit of a difficult part of downtown.
How big is this footprint? Like an acre or two? Or?
It's at least a couple acres. Maybe how big, Matt? Maybe bigger than that, right? Where the actual
maybe 10.
10 acres.
Yeah,
About
but
4 or 5 acres.
Yeah, they're not using all of it right now, but they will be using at least half of it once they get everything up and running.
Okay.
And I forgot to mention that I talked to the gas company people, and they said that they're more than willing to extend the
lease
use of the property, because the gas company, believe it or not, has owned that piece of property for 100 years. And it's so contaminated, I don't think they can sell it. So, but, because the project we're doing there put a cap on all the soil so that it could operate. But it's a long, complex story, but it's a good story so far to me. Anyway, any other comments on the consent calendar?
I'll go ahead and move the consent calendar.
Second.
Is there any opposition to the consent calendar? Hearing none, the consent calendar is unanimously approved. Items 16 and 17. Can I get a motion on those?
Move approval.
Second.
Any opposition to approving of 16 and 17? Hearing none, it's unanimously approved. Item 18.
Dr. Burke, this is Philip Fine. For item 18 and actually item 19 as well, these are administrative amendments and staff recommends waiving the presentations.
I'll move approval of item.
We do have a public speaker though on both these items.
Okay.
Mr. Edick? Now, how does the time thing work on this?
Generally, the board gives 3 minutes each on public hearings.
Okay.
But that's at the board's discretion.
Harvey, while you're there, why don't you speak on 18 and 19? Save yourself a sit down.
I don't know if I'm ready. I want to make a comment. Hello, my name's Harvey, and I'm speaking for myself and for the Public Solar Power Coalition, et cetera. I'm contesting what you just said, Dr. Burke. If you folks would have done what you're legally required to do and evaluate the best available retrofit control technology vis-a-vis the Supreme Court's of California's unanimous decision from 2012 that it's technology forcing that you won your case on coatings, and we've discussed this. Sludge, okay, from CDC, we put in stuff there that you're spreading drug-resistant antibiotics from hospitals and whatnot. You're burning that, putting it in the air so we can breathe it.
Doesn't go in the air.
I don't understand.
I know.
Anyway.
If you'd invented it and you'd
Stop the
understood
clock,
it,
please.
we'd be hoping you'd get it over with.
Why doesn't it go in the air?
But it doesn't go into the air. That's
And plus,
the
whatever
amazing part
leaks
of
in the
this
system,
process.
the system's not closed.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, so this was not evaluated, and it's part of the Solar New Deal for the 16 plan. That wasn't evaluated by the district, by CARB, or by federal EPA, that we were run out of federal appellate court a month ago, and we've gone 3 times to ACLU, are still trying to get them on board. And get you folks on board for, we got denied a writ of mandate to make you study this and do it equitably, justly, and a stay of the proceedings, and until that's done, and to study this with Warren, Bernie's, and Bloomberg's New Deals, and to get that into the process in the elections and implement it here. And it's the anniversary, 50th anniversary of the first Earth Day, and we got a living Christmas tree 50 years ago in the White House and met the head of the Environmental Protection Agency, the first one there, and they want to plant 1 billion trees, and we discussed that we should be doing that. We can do that right here in this country. Anyway, the future depends a lot on control of the investor-owned utilities. The governor incorporate from a week ago the evaluation of the governor in the LA Times. The big critic was the woman from Kathy Phillips' staff of the Sierra Club. Everybody else kind of held their fire. Okay, PG&E is in play. What they didn't say is there's a third of their load is going away. They've signed stuff for the head of the mayor of San Jose. They're looking at solar co-ops with the state. And the governor's looking at this, and they're afraid of the hedge funds and whatnot ripping everybody off. And the same thing's going on here. They're trying to kill CCAs. I was at the Clean Cloud Alliance meeting yesterday, the board. This is going on right now. They're down the tubes. You guys have got board members on there, okay? This is serious stuff. It's happening right now. They're talking about expanding the future. Okay, they were going to sell San Francisco $2.5 billion for their T&D system, and now the same for San Jose. We spent tens of billions of dollars in the first couple of years. First time the PG&E went back with, we condemn that system. We've spent over 10 times this, and take it over. We're paying for the fires and all this stuff anyway. This is the real world and what we've got to do.
Thank you for your comments, Harvey.
Right.
You had a motion on item 18?
I'll move approval of agenda item number 18. I think we should do them separately.
Yeah, absolutely.
Second.
Any opposition to 18? Hearing none, that's unanimously approved.
And I'll approve agenda item 19.
We have testimony on that.
Speakers
from,
on that.
Yeah, Harvey.
All
We
right.
had him speak for both already.
Oh, okay.
So I'll move to approve agenda item number 19.
Second.
Any opposition to this item? Hearing none, it is unanimously approved.
That brings us to public comment. We've got,
Closed session.
no, we have public comment.
Public comment.
We have 4 public commenters.
Oh, we do, okay. Matt Holder? How are you this morning?
I'm doing great, Dr. Burke, thank you. My name is Matt Holder. I'm the consultant for board member Dwight Robinson, and I know it's highly unusual for a board consultant to address the body, but I think I would regret it forever if I didn't share my thoughts on Dwight. It's a sad time for me to not have, this continued professional relationship with Dwight, but I am filled with gratitude for these last 4 years, and grateful for learning so much from Dwight. It was about this time 4 years ago that I came with Dwight for the high-level briefing with the staff, that many of whom are over here still, and as they gave their great presentations in their briefing, Dwight had some really great, thoughtful, detailed, and technical questions of them. And I looked around the room and I saw a few jaws kind of slightly drop, and I saw some eyes dart around the room at their colleagues. And I imagined they were thinking to themselves, wow, this guy is super prepared. He's smart, he's thoughtful, he wants to get positive things done here, and I think I'm gonna like this guy. And after 4 years, if they were thinking that, I think they would all agree that their first impression of Dwight is true. He's enjoyed, I know from talking with him so much, he's loved the relationship with all the staff. It's been a great ride. I want to kind of state right off the bat that, Dwight takes all of his responsibilities here at AQMD incredibly seriously, but this is not what defines him. He is driven by his faith in his family. He's been a model to me on how to be a better person, a better father, better community member. He's taught me to be more honest, patient, and kind, to be a builder of lives and good things, to be respectful even in turbulence. In short, he's a good man. He's a great father, he's a great husband, and a loyal friend. He's enjoyed serving with each one of you, and kind of as a funny side note, there's been times where we've had off-site meetings and the place will run out of Diet Cokes, and he'll say, hey, can you go across the hall and see if you can get a Diet Coke for Janice? She's out of Diet Coke. There's so much more. I see I'm running out of time, so I'm gonna just cut all this short, but I want to thank you, Dwight, for all this time that I've been able to spend with you. You've made a big impact on my life. We've had a lot of phone conversations that generally start out with, hey, I only want to take a couple seconds of your time, and 45 minutes later, one of us says to the other, hey, I'll let you go, and then 15 minutes later, we hang up. It's just been a great ride, Dwight. I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate everything that you've taught me, and I appreciate your service to making air quality in this basin better. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
was
I
very good.
really appreciate that. And so in a small way, I feel like I'm being eulogized tonight, this morning. But thank you very much. One thing before we go, and I know we have a few more public commenters, but I failed to introduce my replacement. He's in the room today. So Carlos Rodriguez, if you'd stand up just briefly here. Carlos is a council member in Yorba Linda, and he knows some of the board members, has for quite some time. The very influential Hank Weida came from Yorba Linda, who will have his memorial ceremony next week. But I think Carlos will carry on a great tradition of fabulous people from Yorba Linda representing Orange County on this board, and so hope you all really enjoy working with him. He ran unopposed, where mine was very contentious, so it's that just shows that I think that he's got a lot of bipartisan support in Orange County, and he'll represent it well.
Looking forward to your attendance next month. Okay, we're going, oh no, we got Harvey, Jessica, and Emily. Would they come to the microphones? I'm going to skip my comment and let Emily go ahead, because I already commented. What'd she say?
She's going to skip. Jessica's going to skip, but Harvey's still up.
Yeah.
This is public comment?
Yep, public comment, Harvey.
And would Emily come to the other microphone?
Okay. My name's Harvey Etter. I'm speaking for myself and for the Public Solar Power Coalition, et cetera. The UN report says that we have to, in the next 10 years, reduce carbon dioxide equivalents by 7.6% around the globe to keep it down to, I think, 1.5, but maybe it's 2 C. It says also in this book that the developed countries, us, have to reduce 15% per year. It's like a rate of double of 3.5 years, compound interest, or 4 years. That's very significant, and that has to be put into the plan. That's what we were talking about in the 91 plan when we litigated, in the 12, the 16 plan now, and the comments we made on the 22 plan. This is the way it is, okay? Greta Thunberg, I'm first of all incorporating all of my comments here and going back at least till 16 and on advice of Burke to look out for IP, it's copyright and here and looking at using it in different ways. It's going back at least till the August 12th comments on the first draft of the plan in 16. Article incorporate by reference from the Times about the ports, saying that the vessels are now the major cause, not trucks. And you're not going to meet it with your natural gas trucks. And that the numbers, they said, vessels were like 2.1 billion versus 2.3, the social cost was more, and included deaths from cancer. What I know about this is wrong. One of these numbers is about 850 deaths per million on diesel trucks. Using that number, if it's 100,000 people, that would be about 85 deaths a year. That's $9 million per death premature. That was based on the 16 plan. 7, it was 3.5, and it went to 7 in the 12, and it's at 9, so the number could be higher. So that number could be like off many times. I have not seen the numbers they were based on, but it could be like 6, 8 billion or higher. And I've asked to try to get that information. Okay. Okay, the housing, there's home ownership vouchers. It's an option in every locality with it. We're 42% of the state. Orange County's doing a bunch of it. LA County and the city, they knew about it. People in charge were hiding the ball what they didn't know about it. The home ownership could help the homeless. The prices dropped 10, 20, 30 cents 10 years ago in the crash, and we could all got places. We had TARP, $700 billion. The housing transportation trade-off is part of this, and it's got to be studied and put into this, and this is the solution. It's equity, dignity, and whatnot, and I've been homeless 10% of my life, 7 years after I got busted up on the oil pipeline in Alaska trying to get a grub state to start a solar deal. Got more to say, but...
Ms. Folks?
Hi, my name is Emily Spokes, and I am here representing the NELA Climate Collective with my 7-year-old, Alaire Spokes. It's a new year. I wish I could say Happy New Year, but I'm still living in the grief phase of what's happening in our climate. Thank you for all the efforts you've made to improve our air quality here, and also, we need you to double down because all of our lives depend on it. I brought her with me today because I was hoping she would tell you herself about a profound realization she had when we were attending the LAUSD school board meeting to make 100% sustainable schools by 2030. And she said to me, Mom, why would they vote not to help the environment? Because if we die, so will they. And that's the severity of what we're talking about with our young children now. Since your last governor's board meeting, I personally have taken major steps toward improving my own emissions output. We sold a car and leased an electric car. Because EVs are so unaffordable, we had to liquefy our other paid-for car and take on a lease. We are also having solar panels installed in 2 weeks because we were waiting for those too to become more affordable. My husband is an electrical engineer and works on sustainable solar farms, projects and airports, including several of the airports here and all over the country. And panels are also not something that people can easily afford, even people who work in the industry. I also, without taking on a large loan, which is not possible for everyone. We switched our leaf blower. We have a small yard, and asked the gardener to switch it to the electric leaf blower. I was very excited to see your update about that. And he reminded me that his hedge clippers, his edger, and the lawnmower also all gas. So there's a lot more to go beyond leaf blowers. Also, I'm a cancer survivor, no doubt Prop 65 data, and tomorrow is my 40th birthday. I long for the days when a cake and good friends made me feel joy about surviving another year. This year I dedicated my birthday gathering to a zero-waste lunch pop-up, hoping to educate friends and neighbors on the urgency of climate activism. As a mostly elected board, I want you to dig deep into the crisis we and our children are facing. And Mr. Burke, I implore you and the rest of the board to do what is morally right when making every decision, no matter how small. To borrow from the Lorax, unless someone like you cares a whole lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. We look forward to seeing you at the next meeting and every meeting going forward from here on out, and we do appreciate all that you are doing. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. That concludes the testimony. We have Board Member
Bay
Kretschmann.
needs you for a second.
Mr. Chair,
What?
just want to follow up what you're about to
Yeah,
comment.
I was going to recognize you. So. Go.
Just what you were about to comment on when she commented, Ms. Spokes. As the chair was just about to say, we do have programs for all these other pieces of equipment, like you talked about the hedge trimmers, the line trimmers, lawnmowers, the push, self-propelled, 60-inch riding, 48-inch riding. I've tested those. I bring those to my cities, to school districts. We push it. You saw the picture. We can't bring all that equipment, but we do demonstrate it. We have a program. You can go online on our website, and even for residents, you turn your old one in. You don't have to. We used to have sites, different sites. Now you can do it year-round. So we have tell your commercial gardener that leaf blower, which may cost several $100s, $1,000, will now cost maybe $200, cheaper or the same price as a gas one. He'll never buy gas, oil, or smell like pollution when he gets home to his family. So we're pushing these programs, and Jason's over there to help you out with it. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I was going to say, my gardener, he works like 7 jobs, and he just gardens on the weekend. So he's the type of person that probably can't afford even an upgrade or a change. So it would be nice to be able to do an even swap. I mean, that would be more incentivizing, I feel like. I guess I'll learn more, but thank you.
Harvey's still in the comment for closed session, too.
Okay, Mr. Editor, on closed session.
Nope. Bay has something to say?
No, I just, last month, I believe we gave him 1 minute for that. But again, that's at the board's discretion.
Take us longer to, Harvey, I'm giving you the full 3. Knock yourself out.
All right, thank you. Well, I found out about your tree plan and want to continue working with that. We had a tree lot in Westwood Village that was on the front page of the View section of the Times in '71. And we worked with you said you didn't see any trees planted. We worked with LA Beautiful. It was through, what was it, Mrs. Johnson's America Beautiful. And they took trees that were donated after they were used for Christmas and planted them in it was city parks. So, and they're talking like Naomi said, we need to plant 1 billion trees, or when they compared it to what was done in the Depression. So this could be done. And there are companies now working on leasing trees and whatnot for living Christmas trees. But so that's one thing. But we need like an overall approach, and for low and middle income, we need and I was referred by staff to governor's staff and trying to follow through on to get vertically and horizontally integrated manufacturing from solar cells and different types of fuel cells and whatnot, and to have contractors and integrated small businesses for low income and disadvantaged communities, and to get the different contracts and preferences through SBA and whatnot. And the state programs should do the same things. going back to the work we did with the PUC 40 years ago, the Low-Income Solar Equity Program, where we did give the example of how you can get housing. Back then, there was a $3,000 refundable tax credits for low income. It said, so if you put in a space heating, a hot water, and an electric system, you get $9,000 back from the franchise tax board. You have a down payment for a house. So that's an example. Anyway, so this was also then to go into the businesses as well as I just mentioned. So we're going to try to work on that, and to work this out, there's a $14 trillion plan from Warren, a $16 trillion plan for the Green New Deal from Bernie, and Bloomberg's been in charge of this thing, working with cities, with the UN, and they're trying to redo the Arctic Council, and anyway, so there's a lot of, the numbers that were put in to IPCC did not include the Arctic melting. That's extremely important. And they're hiding the ball, and the numbers are not hopeful. And we've got to deal with the real situation, whatever the numbers come up, and that the real numbers are 2-3 times carbon dioxide equivalent, not just carbon dioxide. And that methane, what you're talking about doing of this, is the problem. Natural gas is the problem. It's illegal in the state. People are dying. We know it. There's going to be tens, hundreds of millions dying. That's murder on a mass scale.
We are now going to go to closed session.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Gilchrist, will you send us to closed session?
It is necessary for the board to recess to closed session pursuant to Government Code Sections 54956.9 sub A and 54956.9 sub D sub 1 to confer with its counsel regarding pending litigation which has been initiated formally and to which the SCAQMD is a party. The actions are People of the State of California, XREL SCAQMD v. Exide Technologies, Inc., Los Angeles Superior Court Case Number BC 533528, INRI Exide Technologies, Inc., U.S. Bankruptcy Court, District of Delaware, Case Number 13-11482, KJC Bankruptcy Case, Delaware District Court, Case Number 19-00891, Appellate Case. Cal Portland Company v. South Coast Air Quality Management District, Governing Board of the South Coast Air Quality Management District, and Wayne Nastry, Executive Officer, and does 1 through 100, San Bernardino County Superior Court, Case Number CIVDS 192-58941. It is also necessary for the board to recess to closed session pursuant to Government Code Sections 54956.9 sub A and 54956.9 sub D sub 4 to consider initiation of litigation. A report of any reportable actions taken in closed section will be provided to the clerk of the board. The meeting is adjourned.